What's really good, everybody? This is Nathan Allebach, and welcome to the podcast where we get into people's stories and go down a bunch of rabbit holes about what's really good in the world. Today's episode features Kellen Schneider. Kellen is a comedian, writer, and funny Twitter personality that goes by the name of Captain Calvis. I first got introduced to Kellen via the Steak-um Meets Twitter, where I meet all of my favorite people. I hate myself. He's part of this hilarious group that comes up with some of the best original content on the internet, including accounts like Not Viking, Dubstep for Dads, Michaela Okla, Yeats Tweets, and a bunch more. And it's crazy because meme curator accounts like Fuck Jerry and The Fat Jewish constantly steal their material to make a profit, which we get into a little bit together in this. So, yeah, we also get into how Kellen got into comedy. We get into a bit about internet culture and what it's like being a comic in 2018, and also how he broke through in the funny Twitter scene, which involved him writing one of the best tweets of all time this past January, which read, "Me, thank you for that glass of milk earlier. Sperm bank employee. What glass of milk? Me. The glass of milk that was sitting on your desk. Sperm bank employee. Oh my God. Me. What? Sperm bank employee. You drank my glass of milk." It's always so weird reading tweets out loud because obviously it's a way different feel comically when you read it, but it's one of the funniest tweets of all time. It actually got retweeted about 150,000 times, which is just insane. Anyway, Kellen is a super smart guy and super witty guy, and I really enjoyed this conversation, so I hope you all do as well. Now let's get into what's really good. And we're live. Kellen, thank you for coming on the podcast.
It is my utmost pleasure to be here.
This has been a long time coming. Just our Twitter relationship has been growing for months now, and I feel like the world is ready for this to happen.
I think that the world is ready, but they might not want it, and too bad. We're going to serve them up a hot dish of Kellen and Nathan.
Because there's just nothing more than the world wants than a Twitter funny person account and some random dude who runs a corporate social media account. Like, this is just,
in the very I would say underrepresented podcast market, because there aren't enough podcasts these days. The thing that everybody is really clamoring for, really in line for, is a guy who runs a brand account and a guy whose comedy solely exists on a micro-blogging platform.
It really helps that we're both white, too, because there's not enough of them either. Like, there's not enough white podcasting dudes who just... There's not. Here, and I'll say it, I think a lot of people have been thinking it recently, just kind of with where everything's at, where the cultural conversations are at. But hey, thank us for being two white dudes in comedy and podcasting. And that's, oh God, what a gift. Seriously, it feels great to be just who we are, just presenting this gift to the world right now, because champions of sorts. There are all of that joke aside, there is so much of that out here. I know.
Los Angeles. I'm sure you get it all the time, but like, I was at an open mic 2 nights ago, and the amount of dudes who just got on stage and were like sad about their relationships, they didn't have any jokes. Oh my God, I'm not kidding. These dudes, I saw 3 guys say this exact same thing. Get on stage. He goes, how you guys doing tonight? Everybody's like, fine. We're all at an open mic, so not great, but we're fine. Okay. And then they go, yeah, so I hate my girlfriend. And then you're like, okay, I expect some sort of that's the setup. Great. Now we're looking for the punchline. Nothing. That was just this. They just opened with saying, I hate my girlfriend. And 3 dudes who did not know each other did that. And I was like, all right, A, send them my way if you're going to just let me go on a date. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
B, why would you, where is the, and then right after that, they went, Okay, what else do I want to talk about? Like, the only thing they had planned when they drove to that open mic was to say, I hate my girlfriend. What?
It was their big intro and their grand finale. This is exactly what the people want. This is the people. I've been waiting all week to tell this brand new set of jokes. No one's ever said this before. This is just so original.
Calling home to their mom. Yeah, Mom, things are a little rough right now. Like, I'm still out here in LA trying to get my footing, but I wrote some sick ass jokes this week. I'm so excited to get up on stage and tell. And then they get up on stage and just say a statement. They call their mom after, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe this, but 2 other guys also hate their girlfriend."
and then mom's like, "Wait, you have a girlfriend?" And then he's just like, No, I just made it up.
I made her up, but also I hate her. I feel like that's a weird accidental commentary on the state of where straight white dudes pretty much are right now. And let's go ahead, guys. Let's go ahead and get out of that. Let's go ahead. Let's try to move out of that, because I'm sick of hearing about it, and I'm sure everybody else is.
Yeah, I mean, if evolution is real, this should really be moving along soon, right? Like, this has been a phase of just...
It's been, centuries of just white dudes being bad. Like, evolution can't be real. You're right, Nathan. That's the point that I want everyone to take away from this. Take that, Darwin, you big jackass.
Oh, man, I love it, dude. Well, from there, let's just jump into the beginning of all this madness. I guess before we even get in to you and I's relationship, if you can even call it that, let's start at the beginning. What was it like just growing up for you, and what got you into comedy originally?
Oh, that's such a good question. Because part of me wants to do the traditional I guess I was always funny, but dude, I dead ass was not. I was not funny, but I really wanted to be. And so I started theater when I was 6 because my dad started acting when I was born. And so he and I both caught the bug really early on. And so then I just had a flair for performance. And I'm the eldest child of 2, and my younger brother Corey was born with undiagnosed special needs. And so he just by nature required a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. And I think that just, for better or worse, intrinsically made it so that I would perform to get my attention. And then from there, a healthy road of just performing in anywhere I could, from stages to classrooms to getting kicked out of classrooms, all the typical bullshit.
Right. Just
trying really hard. And then when I was 12, my dad gave me his old iPod Touch, and I started watching Mr. Bean videos, a lot.
Mr. Bean?
Yeah, which is he's funny, but he's not a comedic touchstone by any means.
Right.
And then at that same time, my friend on the bus ride to school every day would let me listen to Dane Cook, because I grew up in a really conservative household. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't watch a rated R movie till I was 17. And I just kind of was culturally, I also lived in Iowa. So I was at least 4 years behind everything else.
Wow. You actually followed the law of the rated R. You have to be, is it 17 to get into a rated R movie?
Yeah. Yeah. And the first one I ever saw was that Andy Samberg, Adam Sandler movie, something about daddies. I can't remember what it's called, but I walked out of it because it was just, I was so bummed. I was my first rated R movie, I walked out of it. But then after Mr. Bean, I found Derek Comedy, which was Donald Glover's sketch group. And then I started just watching everything they made. And then that led to College Humor. And I watched everything College Humor made. And then suddenly I was just deep in the throes of internet sketch. And I was that's what I want to do. So then I went to college, and I was I'm going to be a video production major just so I can be an internet sketch comedian. And then my freshman year, I was that's actually not a very lucrative plan. That's not super realistic. And at the same time, I was also a really cocky asshole who thought he was going to be famous. And I'm 17. Right. So I have no sense of reality.
You put all those factors together, and it's just this conglomerate asshole.
Yes,
17, yes. The rebel. You think you know everything. You're just the spotlight.
I'm moving out of Iowa and going to Nashville. I'm gonna hit it big, and just dude, I was such an ass. I was really sarcastic and really quick-witted, and that was just such a devastating combo. It's an incredible combo for comedy. It is not an incredible combo for being a person or interacting socially or maintaining friendships. Yeah. And a lot of people would just be dude, quit being a dick. And I got tired of being called an asshole, so I was all right, maybe I should revalue that or revisit that. revalue that is actually not a phrase.
I think you meant to say revaluate or
yep,
reevaluate.
Sure did. Guess what? Didn't happen. Didn't come out that way.
I love it.
But then I went to college. I got on a college sketch team. This will actually segue well. You're welcome. So I got on a college sketch team at Belmont University in Nashville called Fall Follies. Shout out to my Fall Follies buddies. They're all great. A lot of them are out here in LA.
Cool. And
just like dove into that. And it's a really funny thing. It didn't help the asshole thing at all, because at that school, it's been around for like 20 years. So it's just like it's a really big deal at the school. And then obviously it's not a huge deal anywhere else.
Yeah.
And so like, dude, my junior year, I like came out on stage and somebody had made a giant cutout of my head. And I was like, I remember like about to start this show very viscerally being like, I do not deserve that. Like that is too much. Like that. I like had to do this whole show, like an hour and a half sketch show after that, while being faced with my actual ego staring back at me. It was horrible. And then during my years at Belmont in that sketch team, I got into improv, and then I got into stand-up, and then I moved out to LA where I work in TV development in the comedy space, and I do stand-up out here.
Dude, that's awesome, man. What years were you at Belmont by chance?
I was at Belmont from 2013 to 2017.
It's so funny. I've visited there a few times. I think it was 2010 to 2012, because I had a couple friends that went to school, part of their music program. So,
Yep.
That's like what everybody does, I guess. Belmont, the big Nashville music center. But,
Music City, baby. Music City, USA.
Dude, I remember going to Nashville for the first time and going through the downtown strip and just
Broadway.
being so disappointed. Just being like, this is like this one strip where there's a building with like a cowboy hat and just like a bunch of real touristy stuff, and that's it. And then,
dude, it has become the mecca for bachelorette parties and bachelor parties.
Oh yeah,
they have like now deals on hats and boots. Like you can get 3 pairs of boots for the price of one, because they expect, but like one pair is like $300, so it's not a deal.
Right.
It's a curse more than anything, because if you don't have friends, you have to take 3 pairs. Who the hell needs 3 pairs of cowboy boots? Not even cowboys. No one on earth needs 3 pairs of cowboy boots. I'll say it, and I will die on that hill.
No, I'm with you. I mean, can you imagine just being a bachelor and going down there with a bunch of your bros and just being like, "Oh yeah, let's get these cowboy boots, 7 pairs, man. It's a deal."
Fuck yeah, boots. Like I'm about to get married. It's boots time, baby.
Oh my God, slowly.
Other guys need strippers, not me. I need boots.
That's going to be like the new addition to the truck driver bro with the Confederate flag sticker on the back. Just, you got to have your cowboy boots.
So there's like a weird sect of country rap, and a big thing about me for both you to know and the listener is that I am a consumer of the worst music videos on planet Earth. Like,
ironically or unironically?
I don't know at this point. I really don't. I cannot tell. Like I kind of think that people that do shit ironically, like anything you do ironically, you're still doing. So fuck you if you like try to get out of it. Like
right.
I love Riverdale, and everybody's like, "Oh, you have to be watching it ironically." It's like, no, dude, I love that show. Dude, like I'm done with this ironic bullshit. It's just like I like shit now.
Yeah, I always felt the same way about Jersey Shore. It's so many people would watch it, and then when you confronted them about it, they'd be like, "Oh, it's just funny." It's like, "Oh, it's just funny." Like you're binge watching this every night, and all you do is talk about it.
You're investing in these people's lives, and it's just funny. No, you have connected with them on some level, and you wish that your life was like that to a degree.
They were sort of one of the earlier seeds for me, like I should say, windows into that world, because now you have the Kim Kardashian shows, and that is just the scale of how big those shows are just blows my mind when I think about the millions of people who are so deeply invested in their lives.
Yeah, dude. I mean, because if you get on Snapchat, every single, like, they have a complete monopoly on Snapchat articles. There's one about Kendall or Kylie or any of them. There's one on every like site. Like they all cover them. It's insane. They're geniuses.
Yeah.
But all this to say, there's this music video called Achy Breaky 2, which I'm going to describe it to you, and then you're going to not believe me, and then you're going to watch it, and then you're going to wish I hadn't told you about it at all. So that's going to be your cycle here. And I know you're a musician, so it's really going to trip your trigger. But so it starts out with Billy Ray Cyrus and a young black child walking up just like a dirt road with fishing poles.
Wait, is this actually the real Billy Ray Cyrus?
It's the real Billy Ray Cyrus. And then it cuts to the real Larry King saying aliens have been spotted in Kentucky. And then it cuts back to the real Billy Ray Cyrus and just an unexplained small black child. And then this like UFO comes in and abducts them, and Billy Ray Cyrus steps out of like the pod that they got abducted through and is greeted by two almost completely naked aliens.
What?
But it's just two women in, I don't even know how to describe like it's not lingerie, it's not a swimsuit. It looks like just kind of like just like material that just like coils them. I honestly don't.
Painted it on.
Kind of, yeah. It's like so weird. And then so they like escort him off, and then the kid gets off the like pod and turns into a grown-up dude who we find out is the rapper of the song. But like they don't explain why he was a kid. No one, like, maybe he couldn't have been there for filming. I don't know. Anyway, he starts to rap. They're on a spaceship. And then it cuts to Billy Ray singing a really muted version. And like, it's super condensed. Like they compress all the audio into one file. Like it's really weird.
Him singing Achy Breaky Heart or whatever?
Yes. Yes. Okay. But it's sped up and to a country rap song. Anyway, you watch the whole thing. It is insane, dude. Like no one knows about this music video. And I swear to God, it is. I've seen it so many times, but it is so incredible. And I love that. There's this like one-off video. I don't know if that guy has made any other songs.
Yeah, that was his one moment.
But he got Billy Ray Cyrus and Larry King. Like he got both of them.
That is insane. See, when you started explaining this, I assumed it was just he took clips of them and then put it into his video, but they actually acted in the video. That would be bad. I think I like that the stakes are heightened by it being bad because there are real actual celebrities in it. Right, like they agreed to this. Yeah, they got like someone paid them money to do it, and probably not a lot by the state of the video. That is amazing. I love living in these times of just absurdist, late stage capitalist humor where it feels like every month we just dig deeper down into this weird hole of surreal memes and insane video. I think I could give a TED talk on this. I kind of did in a group chat on Twitter the other day because I was talking about how comedy is in such a weird place right now. There's so much to this, and I really want to explore it more, and I want your input on it. Because of how surreal and absurd the world is, comedy can't top it. Comedy was usually like a step above, but we can't be a step above. So I'm really curious to see what comedy pushes to in the next, I don't know, like 5-10 years. Because like, obviously like we have so many shows about our president, but they're not funny because you cannot be more ludicrous or absurd, which is comedy's job, than what's happening. Like you can't make it up. Like, dude, Trump got on the phone with Trudeau last week because Trudeau was like, hey man, why are you taxing us? And Trump was like, didn't you burn down the White House? Okay, first off, so insane. First off, no, the Canadians didn't burn down the White House. That was the British in the War of 1812. Second off, even if they did, dude, that was 200 years ago, and Justin Trudeau had nothing to do with it. Exactly. And also, why are we taking revenge for things that happened 2 years ago? Also, they didn't happen. Like, there's so much in that like, if you wrote it, people would just be like, that's not funny because like it's just what's happening. Yeah. Dude, it is so absurd. And it's really interesting to watch the sort of just the scope of comedians, how there are the comedians, like you mentioned, who are just hyper-focusing on the criticism of Trump and the whole Republican Party and just the absurdist humor of what's going on with that. But then you have a lot of comedians that are trying to take this more, I don't want to call it rational, but this more like cultural critique of just, oh yeah, we live in crazy times. You know, the world is going to hell in a handbasket. This is really weird. And then you have all these younger people coming up through Twitter and YouTube and Funny or Die and these other outlets where the humor is what you're saying, where it's just so, it's like they're trying really hard to get past this absurdist reality that we're in because they're trying to break like the threshold. Yeah, you know, it's like it's insane because like I was saying, like, so you and I spent a lot of time on Twitter, and like
if you look at like my feed or you look at like Viking's feed, shout out to Viking. Everybody follow @NotViking on Twitter. The dude is a legend. But if you look at like our feeds, it's a lot of traditional Twitter joke structures with a lot of insane twists. Like right now, he and I are on a big kick about the moon and the sun.
I saw. I've been loving them.
Yeah, because like there's something so funny, but like we try to really take this like insane, absurd stance, and then I find myself having to try and outdo my own absurdity, which I've never felt. Or like if Viking posts something super out there, then I'm like, fuck, now I got to get weirder, you know?
Yeah. It's like you have to like deconstruct the deconstructing of a joke. Or like if you start a joke with 3 lines and the third line is the punchline, then once that's not good enough, you have to make a 4th line. And then once that's not good enough, you have to make a 5th line, but then make the 5th line not a punchline. To like think about all these weird nuances to sort of do exactly what someone isn't expecting so that it gets them.
And I find that like the rules of comedy in the surreal meme space don't apply.
Yeah.
Which I love because there are like in stand-up especially, and it's been weird for me to navigate the Twitter community and the stand-up community because like there are some things that just work on Twitter that just don't in like real life and vice versa. But like in stand-up, there's all these like unspoken rules, you know, like don't sing on stage and make sure you take the mic out of the stand and like don't be afraid to say whatever you want, like all that kind of stuff. But like rule of 3s, but like on Twitter, it's out the window. It's like it's this weird, like you have to be authentically weird, and as long as you're authentic and people buy into that, then you can get away with whatever you want.
Yeah, it's so okay. Let's backtrack just a little bit. Like I'll give it an intro to the beginning of this just to kind of explain like who you are and what you do. But I think it'll be fascinating for people to know and for myself to know because I have no idea. But how did you start this funny Twitter persona? What was the genesis of all this?
Dude, so that sketch team I told you about. So they just through that, I just like got to meet a ton of people on campus. Like I just knew a lot of faces and just like would post stupid shit on Twitter, like just like local shit, you know?
Yeah.
And I had like 1,000 followers and I was so excited about it. But then my friend was like, dude, we should do a weird Twitter. And I was like, what's that? And he was like, I used to run this account and it had like 3,000 followers and we just posted weird shit and it was so fun. Let's do it. So I was like, cool, let's do it. So we started this account called Chip Flips and he was a lot better at it than I was. And I remember being so mad. Like he just got it. I didn't get it. And I was so mad. And then I had a joke where just like it got like 200 likes. And I remember feeling just like, holy shit, I did it. And then that account kind of fell off and whatever. And then I was like, wait, I can do that again just by myself. So I like made just like a shitty, like it was my childhood picture. And I put like of like when I was like 4 and I had a bowl cut and I was honestly a cute ass kid. So it was like perfect. And so I like put that photo and then I put an eye patch over it. And my friends had called me, 2 of the guys on the sketch team would call me anything but my name. So it ended up, they started calling me Calvis and it was just like a nickname. And then everybody was calling me Calvis. So I was like, okay, phonetically, what goes along with that? And I was like, Captain Calvis, just like, that's so good.
Yeah. It sounds like a character.
Yeah. And so then I was like, I'm just going to roll with that. So I made it my new account and just started to try and tell jokes. And then eventually like met one person, got put in my first DM room. And then that was when Twitter was big on link rooms. So like you would link your joke and then a bunch of other people in there would potentially hit it. And there's like all these unspoken rules about it. And I was in those for a while and like just wasn't growing super fast. And then decided one day I was like, man, I like ultimately want to be doing stand-up. I'm going to make this account. I did that for like a year. And I think I had a few like decent jokes, but I just like I didn't get it really. And then January of this year. So I started that my like senior year of college, which was 2016. And then this year, January, I was like, I'm just going to make this my face. Like I want this to be tied to me. I don't want to be anonymous anymore. Cause a lot of people think I'm like a 65-year-old dude.
Right.
So like a lot of my friends who are my age were like, why is this like 65-year-old dude messaging me when I was just like, oh, you like, we're the same age. This is cool. I was trying to make friends cause I like lived in a new city and didn't know anybody. So I switched to my face and I was really nervous cause like I wasn't in rooms anymore. I was in 10 rooms and I left them all. It was just like, I'm just going to, whatever. I'm just going to do this and tell jokes and see what happens. And I was talking to Andrew Chamings, who is he's like one of my best friends on Twitter. He and I like write a lot. and send each other our stuff. And he like gives me notes and he's great. We just have a similar sense of humor. And I was talking to him and I was like, dude, this sucks. Like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't think my account can stand alone. Like, I don't think it's going to be good. And then I was really bummed out. And then I tweeted that stupid joke about the sperm bank.
I was just going to ask, like, when did that come into this?
That came in the day after I rebranded.
Wow.
And I just tweeted it out there as like a whim. I was like, this is silly. I don't really like, I was really, really, really depressed at the time just for like external reasons, not because of Twitter. And I was like, this makes me laugh. I'm just going to post it, see what happens. And I logged out after posting it. And then, cause I don't have my notifications on my phone. Like I have some notifications, but I really try to keep them off cause I just don't need that.
Yeah. It's so annoying. Me too.
And it's just like inundation. And then I'm on it way more than I need to be, whatever. So I logged back in like 10 minutes later and it had 1,000 likes. And I was like, what is happening? And then, I mean, from there, the rest is history. Like that one joke, like got me 7,000 followers. And then I tweeted a follow-up joke and that one got me like 3,000 more.
Wow.
And then dude, I hit a slump. Like for 3 months, I didn't have any jokes over like 7,000. And I was like, wow, and like at the time, like Corey and Viking are like blowing up because they're hysterical.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, dang, dude, like maybe it was a fluke. Maybe I just need to like quit and go to stand up and like do that. Cause that's like where I've always wanted to be. And then I was like, no, dude, you're just like putting too much pressure on yourself. So let's just like tell jokes and be silly and screw around. And then that's where I really like found my voice. So really, I didn't find my voice until like a month ago.
Dude, that is insane. So did you ever look, like I'm sure you did you look at the Twitter analytics? Like how many people did that one tweet reach? Like how big was it for people listening just to have scale?
I think it got 40 million impressions, I think.
Wow.
It's something around there. I remember it's so funny because like Twitter obviously compares you month by month in analytics. And every month since then, obviously, like it's just been in the red because I just can't do that. Like it won't happen again.
Didn't you came up with another big one though sometime after that, didn't you? It was like, I remember the McDonald's one.
Yeah, that was 4 days after. So
wow.
My account was still hot and it just went off. And it was really funny. A lot of people in that time, that was when TweetDecking was a huge thing. And I got just ripped because I think a lot of people thought I was TweetDecking because I switched to a picture of my actual face and then had 2 big tweets.
Can you explain what that is for people who don't know?
Of course. Yeah. So TweetDecking, there was a third-party app that was connected to Twitter called TweetDeck. And it was initially to make using social media easier. So Twitter was really complicated for a lot of people when it started. And this allowed you to embrace all of the features. So if you were somebody like Nathan and you were running a corporate account and then maybe your personal account and then maybe other corporate accounts, you were able to navigate easier through TweetDeck. But then a bunch of assholes who love to just like rig virality and make money realized they could all log into multiple accounts through TweetDeck and essentially orchestrate what goes viral. And then they could use that to make money. So you had to pay money to be in the deck. And then it was a pyramid scheme and like rigging, and it was insane. Like it doesn't make any sense, but they all stole tweets and they're all a bunch of assholes. And I, during that month, got blocked by like 15 of them because I just kept like yelling at them for stealing tweets.
Yeah.
And because I hate that shit. And I yelled at BuzzFeed about it once on my Instagram and got a bunch of like angry DMs from friends that was like, you should be happy with the exposure. And I was like, you should eat shit because that's not at all what this is about.
Yeah, it's the same vein of the whole fuck Jerry like meme thing where like there's so many accounts like that, or like the fat Jewish or these other accounts where all they do is steal other people's content and literally make profit from it. And then people pull that card where it's like, oh, well, your name's attached to the tweet, so you're getting exposure, right? It's like no one is searching out the @ handle of the person on that screenshot who made that. And they're not going to, and it's not doing anything for you. It's like the same people who, like, for what I do, like songwriting, who, like, they do these pay-to-play gigs, and it's like, well, you know, we're getting you on a stage. It's like, this isn't helping me at all. This is just getting you money.
It's only benefiting you. Yeah, it's bullshit, because, like, big meme accounts make like 6 figures a year on Twitter or on Instagram.
Yeah.
And Twitter, we don't monetize at all, which like, I'm not in it for money. I'm a content creator because I like it and I like to write jokes and it's a creative thing for me. And like, would it be fucking sick if I could make money? Absolutely. But that's not how I started and that's not my ultimate goal with that. But when somebody that makes $30,000 off of one shout out on Twitter shouts somebody out using my content, and I know that they're making the equivalent of a goddamn Kia Sorento, you better believe I'm going to get pissed off about that. Yeah. It is not an exposure thing. It is not like an ego thing. It is like that's just bullshit.
Well, it's just wrong, and you know it'll happen to somebody else. Yeah, inevitably.
And because what all that is like, okay, people that run those are just administrators. Like, they are not content creators. They don't understand. None of them could put together a joke if you made them. And I think that's the part that really pisses me off. But I don't even know how we got here, but now I'm clenching my fists so tight my nails are digging into my skin.
No, that was the goal. I'm trying to get you super pissed, and then we're going to talk politics.
Welcome to the politics surprise.
our political portion of the show today. But no, dude, I'm totally with you. It's interesting because prior to getting involved with you and the sort of funny, weird Twitter accounts that you're associated with, I had no idea about any of that. When you guys started to tag the Steakum account in some of these threads where you were like, Steakum, like, call this person out for stealing jokes, and then I go through their profile and you literally see, if you run like a Twitter search engine, like if you copy paste the tweet into there, you can see all the times they've stolen these jokes, and it's insane. Like, I never knew that this was happening at such a large level, and it's just people just go with it because it's one of those things where, just like the Fuck Jerry account, it's like, well, what can you do? Like, we're getting laughs out of it, so
it does, because the currency is the laugh, it isn't the content, and so like people, as long as they laugh at the meme, they don't care where it came from, which I get. Like, I'm fine with that, whatever. I will say, dude, so TweetDeckers died. But they're all coming back now, and they are only like, it's this incredible trend. White dudes, we're so boring. Like, we are so goddamn boring. And here is how you know that we're boring, is that there's this new army of white dudes that only post like these bullshit, like, I'm not the kind of guy that'll stay at a party late if you want to go get a milkshake. If you want to get a milkshake, I'm out of there. And that will get fucking like 15,000 likes. Yep. And I'm like, dude, that's some shit I thought about when I was in 7th grade listening to fucking like Snow Patrol. Yeah. Like, you cannot, like, you're just taking my Facebook statuses from when I was like starting to get depressed. Like, you can't. Yeah. And it's so fun. And they steal them from each other. So then they just like go viral once a week. And now they're like accounts that they just love to just like call those out, and I think it's hysterical.
Yeah, it is such a weird culture to see. I love Ryan Yeats, like Yeats tweets at Yeats tweets guy. He's hilarious. He calls that stuff out all the time, where like he'll copy link a tweet onto his feed where the person literally says something like, "Fellas, I'm telling you right now, like, don't go out there and cheat on your girl." Like, it's the last thing. Dude, and it gets thousands of retweets, and you're like, what?
That's just an obvious statement. Just, you don't have to say it. Like, no one should have, like, the fact that that's a, like, social capital move is insane to me. The fact that people are, like, they resonate with that bare minimum bullshit is so nuts, because like you and I, like, most people just see that and are like, yeah, obviously don't fucking cheat if you don't, like, there are feelings associated with cheating, and it's regret and guilt, obviously.
Do you think that's associated more so with just younger generations as a whole? I don't like making fun of just entire generations. I hate generalizing, like, oh, millennials this, millennials that. But do you think it's more so younger people coming up into the, you know, like they're 13 or 14, so when they hear that type of thing online, it does resonate with them more? Or do you think it's more of like a niche market on the internet itself of people who are actually just stupid and feed into it?
God, that's such a good question. You know I think that I do 100%. I think, here's what I think. Twitter, like the progress of technology is like, at first it's like only used by like beta testers and early adopters, and then it's like widespread. You know, everybody uses it for a time, and then it moves to specialized. And Twitter is a specialized market now, right? So like you have joke Twitter, you have Stan Twitter, you have political Twitter, you have sports Twitter, and then you have what a lot of people call bare minimum Twitter, and it's people that are just content consumers. And content consumers, just by nature, are normies, and I mean that in the kindest way possible. But I think that their standards of content consumption are lower.
Right. And they're not quote unquote extremely online.
Right. They're not like you and I who log in every day because we are like trying to further something. They're just logging in just like as an actual social media still.
Yeah.
And so because of that, they are a market And that's why you'll see like weird batshit ratios on that stuff, because like they're going to be, their retweets don't carry more power. So like it's just a lot more of them. Like that's an accurate representation of the demographic.
That is so interesting. I never would have even so bare minimum Twitter. I've heard that reference 1,000 times. That's what it is then. It's essentially like this group of people who barely use it, and they're all sort of not dumb, but they're surface level in how they approach.
Yeah, right. Like how they approach their humor. It's the reason that the fucking Office, I can't talk about it anymore because The Office was such a good show, and it's one of the longest living ones on Netflix just because of like timing. And so the community that loved The Office then got Netflix and just could keep watching The Office instead of watching new TV, right? So like they all loved that show, and it is the touchstone of their like sense of humor. Like The Office is the defining cultural sense of humor. And dude, I'm not like, I don't know if you saw that I blocked Walter the other day, but I did it because to make a point that was like, stop sending me Office gifts in reply to my tweets.
Dude, it's the worst.
The only weird comedy out there is not The Office. Like, I love it. It's a great show. I mean no harm, but like, for the love of God, can we talk about anything else?
Dude, it's the same with SpongeBob. It's like these weird subcultures where if you grew up watching any of these shows or movies or whatever, obviously they're works of genius, and we all appreciate them for whatever they are. Even if you don't like them, you can appreciate them for what they are, and you get the humor, but there's these people who they don't let it go. It just becomes this lifelong cornerstone of their entire humor.
Dude, yeah. And it's just like, I don't know, like find more shit and like challenge yourself and watch, like it just drives me up the wall, because like that goes back to the comedy conversation of like, I don't know if comedy is progressing or what, because like we've always had a reactionary comedy genre. You know, we've always had another genre for like, okay, so a lot of people like The Office. I don't ascribe to that because for whatever reason. For me, it's because like as soon as a lot of people start talking about something, it really like I can't watch it. Like I hate Inception for that reason. I can't watch Inception because so many people talked about it and they just like conflated it. But like I don't know what that thing is now. When it was The Office or when it was mainstream comedy, the reaction was Tim and Eric, right? And then Tim and Eric became mainstream, which is cool because like that means that it's a part of our shared language, which I love. And I love that there was more absurdity and surrealism. But then all of a sudden we see more people out doing like those weird, surreal on the street interviews. And all of a sudden this thing that used to be a really cool channel for you to demonstrate your character work is a nightmare and is not funny at all. And if you do like an on the street interview, like Kyle style, I immediately write you off as a comedian. You know what I mean? Like it's this weird, I don't know where we're going to go next, because with comedy in the hands of everyone, because like it is, which I love, like anyone can be a comedian now, which is what Twitter ultimately shows, is like anyone can do it to a degree, or Instagram in a gross way. Like the comedians page makes me want to throw myself down a flight of steps, but even talking about it makes me feel like a hack comedian. I don't know where comedy is going to push to, you know, like comedy always like once it gets too big in a certain space, it like goes to another like space. It like bursts into another space. And then all of a sudden everybody kind of starts to move that way. I don't know where it's going to go.
Well, I think that's why we're in this weird stage where I particularly think this is the reason that a lot of people hate corporate accounts on social media, like I run with the Steakum account, because they look at it and they almost see, okay, like anytime one of my tweets goes quote unquote viral, which for that account isn't much, it's maybe 1,000 retweets and a couple thousand likes. When it gets to that point and you get all these people who don't follow it retweeting it and seeing it, a lot of the reactions I get are basically something of the notion like, oh no, corporate America is like stealing humor, or they're making memes now. Great. Basically, like this whole mindset of now advertisers are taking the humor that it's almost like a sacred thing on the internet, and now people are using it for their own consumerist gains, which I think is really interesting because like the people you mentioned there where at one point a few years ago, there's really like quick, witty, street style interviews were a new thing. And every time you saw one, it was like, oh, this is so funny. Like, I can't believe nobody thought of this before. And now like that type of video is talked about in a lot of marketing boardrooms where, you know
I
what
didn't
I mean?
know that. That's,
like,
yeah.
Because people now, like, they're studying internet culture in advertising and in marketing to see what's funny. So it's almost like this weird trickle down effect where what's funny to us or to internet culture, whatever, 1 year, maybe like 2 or 3 years later, marketers and advertisers start to pick up on it and try to capitalize on it still. So it's this weird, I think the internet and comedians and just the comedy world as a whole is trying to like push the envelope, like you're saying, like the next big thing. But meanwhile, whatever you want to call it, like the system as a whole is kind of trailing behind it, trying to take something from it. And I think it's really, it speaks to me, like when you were saying and all that, how you're not sure like where comedy's going now. I think, to me, I think about 4chan. And like what 4chan did with the 2016 election, how most people on the outside didn't really have much of an understanding of meme culture and the importance and I guess the influence of these kids on the internet. And here, like this mass group of millions of mostly kids, but adults too, that were in this online community, were literally creating. I mean, I mean this term neutrally for what it's worth, but they were creating political propaganda in the sense, like they were literally
on both sides. And
it's just so interesting to see that, like we're at the point now where people are now utilizing this humor that you're talking about in devious ways to actually influence culture. It's really strange.
It's insane, right? And so here's where my like ethics and my personal ethos gets tangled up, right? Because like I love to write jokes. Like it's one of my favorite things to do. And when I write a joke that I really like, I get I get the most joy just sharing it with people, right?
Yeah.
But comedy inherently is meant to punch up.
Yeah.
It is meant to take power away from people who don't deserve it and to give a voice to those who don't have it. Like that is inherently what comedy should be. And I'm saying that objectively, but I don't know that that's necessarily objective. So I'm just going to tread lightly, but I say it objectively because that's my belief. But if other people don't share that, I respect that. And also I hate you, but, so for instance, right? Like my personal questions to myself are always like, okay, I have this ability to write jokes. Maybe not well. That's not the question. But I do have this ability to write jokes. If I use them in a consumerist fashion because it gets me a paycheck and allows me to do something else that is more punching up, is it selling out? Like, am I, you know what I mean? Because like, am I giving away my weapons, my gifts? Is it me giving it away? Is it me selling out? Is it me like this is a ludicrous example, but is it me helping the enemy? Or like, am I contributing to some part of society that I shouldn't be contributing to, like furthering like insane late stage capitalism? Or am I just using my talents and getting paid? Like it's this hard, it's a really hard thing for me to understand what is correct in that situation. And I realize it's a weird question to pose somebody who runs a corporate account, but, and I'm not challenging your personal ethos, I promise.
No, I love it. No, keep going.
But I just don't understand because, like, I inherently don't trust authority, and I say that with respect because, like, I am also like not an anarchist, so it's not like I'm like, yeah, fuck the cops and I hate the government and I want to burn it all down. It's not that. It's just like I know that there's shady shit going on.
Yeah, it's power.
Right. And I want to be able to do whatever I can to take away from that. And even on a small scale, when a company reaches out to me and is like, hey, retweet this and we'll send you a shirt, and I do it, am I a comedian in that moment?
Dude, I love that you deal with that tension because that's what I do. That's what I deal with every day. And it is a weird place to be because I think the younger generations, like, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Okay, I'm 26. So I mean, I think your age and much younger, like my age too. Like I was sort of part of, I don't know, like an older wave of people that grew up with the internet, but we were still like teetering on internet literacy a little bit. Whereas a lot of younger generations, they grew up from the time they were 6, 7, 8 years old watching YouTube videos, which means they got YouTube ads, which means they've been on social media since they were really young and they're seeing comments and the way that the corporate world entwines itself into the just online world. It's always been there. You know, like I was talking to Patrick Wells on the first podcast I did of this. He's the guy that runs the Moon Pie Twitter. And
Oh, yeah.
we were talking about just how either way brands affect social media. Like right now, the reason that Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and all these accounts are free is because brands pay for their advertising to exist on those platforms. Right. So it's like this, either way, brands affect what we do, but it is like a weird tension that I think each one of us has to kind of wrestle with on a daily basis, because to your point, it's, you know, at some level, you're going to have to quote unquote sell out because you need to make money. So the only way to make money is to get a job, which is quote unquote a corporation. And I think inherently a lot of kids, because they grew up in this culture, they see the sort of intrinsic, I don't want to say evil, but the problems of bureaucracy and just how the bigger companies are the most corrupt companies. And even if there are good people working in those companies, there's big problems in them. So it becomes this really weird tightrope walk where you have to kind of figure out for yourself. I was also talking to Amy Brown the other week, who ran the Wendy's Twitter account, and she's someone who deeply has struggled with this, you know, over the years, just because, especially Wendy's it's one of the biggest food corporations in the world. So it's like, obviously, as a corporation, Wendy's, like, they can do so much good, but they're still a corporation. They're still paying people minimum wage. Like, there's questionable ethics involved in that company, just like there are in any big company. So it becomes this whole thing where you have to kind of decide, okay, am I morally okay working here? And if I am morally okay working here, how long can I do this? And, like, what's my goal? Is my goal to take over? Like, is my goal to just, like, use this platform to make a shit ton of money? Or is my goal to work here for now until a new opportunity presents itself to do something that where I can better the world or better my career so I can have more influence? I think that's a big thing, because I think a lot of people, they stay, like you mentioned, like, you're not an anarchist, but I think a lot of people with this ideology, they are anarchists, or at least want to be anarchists, where I
think there's a lot of wannabe anarchy out there. And I know
there's
I
not a lot of real
category. No, because anytime I've met a real anarchist, I've been like, oh my God, I am not an anarchist.
Right. Yeah, because we all feed into the system. And I think people, they want to think they can live outside of it, but you really can't.
You really goddamn can't.
Yeah, you can't. Like, I mean, unless you're moving to some remote country in a remote area just away from everything, I mean, even then you're still tied in somewhere. So it's like a weird trade-off, because this is the end of my rant, but I think for a lot of people that are trying to get into a career field, especially younger people, they have to deal with that tension where they decide, what's my end goal? Do I want to help people? Do I want to become an actual, like, comedian making a salary on a yearly basis, like, or a livable wage, I should say, on a yearly basis? And if that's the case, I'm going to have to cut some corners, and I'm going to have to make some deals that maybe I'm not super happy with now, so that in the future I can have more influence to do more good. You know, it's like a super weird trade-off that, like, I'm with you, man. I mean, like, I think about it all the time, and it's bizarre.
I think, and this is, obviously, I'm saying this from a place of pretty insane privilege, right? So, like, I live in LA. I have a good job. I got to move out here because I had, like, familial support. Like, so let's all listeners take this with a grain of salt and know that I'm saying this from a place of privilege. But I think that when you can take money out of the equation, right? So if your motivations for something are money, and you can remove that, right? Like, I love comedy because I love comedy, and I'm enabled to love comedy the way I do because of, like, again, that privilege I mentioned. But I think when you love something and you genuinely want to do it and you take money out of it, you aren't selling out, right? So, like, if I got the opportunity, like if I were to write jokes for Steakum, right, I would do that because I like that account, I like writing jokes, and I like collaborating with you, and that to me wouldn't feel like selling out. But if, like, a company that I don't necessarily believe, like, if one of those fucking Fit Tees or some of that shit, if they were like, hey, we want you to write jokes for us, I don't know if I would do it, because I don't. Like, the pride that comes from a joke, like, it's like one of my babies. Like, when I write a joke that I really care about, it is like a child of mine. Right. And maybe that's just because I've never loved something deeply, but we can get into that on another podcast. But I think that I wouldn't be able to, the reason I do it is because I love it, and I think that would kill me loving it, and then why would I do it? I guess. So I think that in order to make it not selling out, it's a frame of mind, I guess, you know, like, and putting yourself, like you said, like, why am I doing this? What is my motivation for it? And I think that that's probably it. Or, and this is very probable, that's just my justification, and I'm rationalizing and a complete liar. So, you know, like, it just, who's to say these days, man? You never know. Like, I never know with my stupid
We're all
brain.
frauds.
I think that's it, dude, for real. I genuinely, like, I love when people ask famous people how they got to where they are, because they don't fucking
Oh my
know.
God, they're all, it's all lies. I mean, seriously, exactly what you just said. I think no matter who you are, if you have any stand-in in any kind of community or business or career field, you are a fraud to some degree, because you have to be
imposter syndrome, dude.
Yeah.
You have to have this, like, false confidence. Like if you ask me why I have followers on Twitter, the real answer is one joke resonated with a lot of people and that built my following. But, like, if somebody's asking me on a panel, my ass is always going to be like, well, you know, it's consistency. It is determining a and it's like, no, dude, shut the fuck up.
These are the tools that got me where I am today.
You're a silly little fuck around who tells jokes and people happen to like one of them, and then you just got them to like others. Like, I'm not a social media guru. I'm a lucky little shit who told a few jokes and resonated. Like, I think that if more people, here's the thing, Nathan, if more people thought like I did.
That's what this whole podcast is about.
It's just me trying to, like, get people to think like, oh, Jesus Christ.
But dude, I think a lot, like, we can look at a lot of this through the lens of the privilege that you just touched on, because I think that's totally accurate in how a lot of people out there who aren't in financially stable or culturally, communally stable environments, if they're given an opportunity, it doesn't matter if it's a evil corporation or some diabolical person. Chances are they're gonna take it. And and I don't mean that as like an umbrella. Obviously, not everybody would, but a lot of them would, because they're starving for opportunity. And I think it becomes this really tricky space where it's like, okay, then are we judging the person who's in an unprivileged or an impoverished position for taking an opportunity there just because you or I wouldn't? It's like you and I can sit here and say, well, you know, I don't need to take money from this company for retweets because I'm fine right now, and like I don't need it. Like I don't need to support that. So it is this really tricky space where, depending on your state of like socioeconomic privilege, you kind of do have more grounding to make some of these ethical decisions, which is I think that really gets down to a lot of the problematic stuff I see within these anarcho communist Twitter accounts a lot of times, where it's all about like anti-capitalism and all this stuff. And like ideologically, if that's where you're at, like I'm not gonna come down on you and debate you and say like this is wrong.
Yo, but you're still on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's the thing, is like,
you're on a
when
smartphone.
I see that shit, you're on the internet, and you, like, that's the shit that I think is fucking hilarious. Sorry to cut you off. I am giddy at this thought, and I'm going to close it, and I want you to either yell at me or here we go. I think that Jake Paul is the everyman. And this is off of your point. Here's what I mean. I think that given, like, I don't think that Jake Paul is an anomaly. I don't think that Jake Paul is any different than most people. I think that a lot of people, were they to become famous, would be a lot like Jake Paul. Yeah. And I think that he is just a good highlight of like where American media is and what it means. And like, that is what happens when you, for better or for worse, I'm not going to shit on that because I am not a famous person and I don't have any reason to, but I think that for better or worse, he is exactly what happens when comedy is in the hands of everyone.
Yeah, it is a weird time for comedy like that. I mean, I have friends who they fall into the same sort of, I don't know, humor vein as him, and some of the stuff that they say is really dicey, and it's really like, okay, are you like, I don't even know how I feel about some of it, because I'm always caught in this tension between, okay, I don't want to say stuff that like intentionally offends like a minority group or a person who's just not like whatever. Like I don't want to be the person who's in any way, shape, or form projecting that. But at the same time, I get where a lot of like this edgy whatever humor is coming from, where they want to be pushing the bounds and they want to be saying crazy, absurdist stuff because they don't want to lose like the sort of whatever you want to call it, like the roots of what comedy stands for. Because comedy is all about pushing the boundaries, and it is all about doing whatever it wants because it's like the sort of societal outlier as a whole. So it is like a really weird time how you can be a YouTube star or a Vine star or whatever and say one bad thing or tweet one bad thing or like Roseanne even. Like she's an idiot.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah. But
that shit, wow.
Like the whole thing,
go ahead.
The whole thing about that, I guess is what I'm getting at, is what's crazy. It's not necessarily like what she said, because obviously that's horrendous on its own merit, but it's just this weird time we live in where she can just tweet something like that willy-nilly, and then all of a sudden an entire show, which hundreds if not thousands of people are involved in, goes away. And like people are out of a job, and it's just this really bizarre, like it's like this combination of outrage culture, but then it's also like really good because we have public accountability, and it's just like I don't know, like I really don't know how I feel about it.
I think so too. I think that you raise a lot of incredible points, and I think that it's multifaceted. That's the thing that's so confusing. Is like you and I would both agree that comedy needs to push boundaries, but I think you and I would also agree that comedy should never hurt minority groups or like go after, like, you know what I mean? And I think that, okay, dude, most comedy today is still influenced by the stand-ups of yesteryear, and the stand-ups of yesteryear were misogynistic, sexual assaulting, like racists,
right?
You know, like.
And they lived in a time where there was no accountability. So we have all this stuff like the Bill Cosbys and the Harvey Weinsteins coming out because there was no internet call-out culture. So it's this weird trade-off where, you know, now everyone's getting called out, and there are some cases where people are getting fired and they're losing their public platforms based on something that maybe they shouldn't have. Because maybe it's like a false accusation, or maybe it's something like they said that was dicey, but I don't know, like maybe they shouldn't have gotten fired. So there's all this like weird trade-offs with that. But then at the same time, we used to live in a time where there was literally no accountability. So people can just do whatever they wanted.
Everything is so polarized these days. Like, and I think that's the root of all of it, right? Is extremes.
Yeah.
It feels like you can't be behind something unless you're extreme. And so I think that you have like the people on the right side being like, this is ridiculous. Like everyone's getting fired. This is insane. And they can't wrap their heads around it because they're most of them are the older generation, and that's just their world is like, it's confusing. So to a degree, I understand where they're coming from, but also like people are hurt and getting hurt through these systems that have been unchecked for so long. And to me, as a comedian, I think that if you can't learn to navigate this specific time right now, where you can't learn to push the boundaries and accept certain, like the aspects of PC culture that are real and valid, then you shouldn't be a comedian.
Right.
Because if you like, so when the Weinstein thing happened, everybody decided they wanted to tell rape jokes. And it was just like, no, like we don't need those. First off, you're not writing good jokes. And my rule is if it's a good joke and if it's a well-written, smart joke, then it should exist. And that's kind of a weird blanket statement. And I don't love generalizations, but like if it's a well-written joke, that means you've taken into consideration what the effects are going to be. So you have an idea of what you're saying and why you're saying it.
Right.
But then you have these fucking assholes out here who are just like dropping the N-word because they think they can, or you have like Dennis Miller, who was on SNL and a comedian and now has no ability to write a joke, yelling about PC culture. And so it's like these insane extremes of like, people are like, you can't say anything, and then that pisses off the other side who think you should be able to say whatever they want to say, but using it under the guise of PC culture. And so nobody is looking at the underlying thing of just like, let's just respect other groups that we may not understand. Like, right. I was at the open mic I was at that I keep talking about, there was a non-binary person there, and they did a set about their pronouns, and it was so funny. Like, they just talked about how easy it is and how stupid people can be. And then literally right after that, the host got on stage and misgendered them. And it was like, holy shit. Like, it's not hard. Like, if like you asked me at the top of this podcast if I would prefer to be called Cal or Kellen. The fact that you asked that means that out there people can get like pronouns right. If you can, if someone can ask me if I prefer to be called by my internet persona's name or my actual birth name, then for God's sake, just call people whatever they asked to be called. Respect that. It is weird. Okay. It is strange, but that's just because it's new and it's like part of this new frontier that we need to just respect. I don't understand why it's such a hard thing for people and why they're like, I don't need to see anyone's type 5 about like misgendering and like on purpose. Like I don't need to see a white dude. And I guess that's just what I've been doing is the opposite, but like just some white dude who has no experience with this rambling about it. But I don't need to see a white dude with no experience rambling about why somebody shouldn't do something.
Yeah, I think for most people, like, okay, so say the gender pronouns issue, like it's split 50-50. Say it's like left thinks one way, right thinks another way, just generally speaking. I think a lot of it comes down to on an individual in-person relationship basis versus this sort of like overarching cultural narrative. Because I think a lot of people, I don't know, it is tricky because I mean, obviously, again, like you said, it's hard to speak in generalizations. But I think there's a lot of people I know that are more conservative-minded who I think if they knew a transgender person or a non-binary person or someone who just preferred a certain pronoun that wasn't of the like binary nature, I think if they knew them personally or they were in their community and there was a relationship established, I think a lot of them would feel less inclined to fight against that.
Yeah.
But then you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like there's this cultural disconnect because you have the sort of whatever you want to call it. Like it is extremist, but like you have the extremist, quote-unquote, social justice warrior sort of end of things where they push this type of rhetoric in a way where they basically frame it up like, okay, if you don't get this, you're a moron. And then people on the right then react to that. And then you know what I mean? And they say, okay, this is like this ridiculous cultural generalization and blah, blah, like whatever. It's Marxism, it's postmodernism. And then it becomes this either or, like where no one's really listening to each other. And the 100%. Conversation, it's not moving forward at all.
No, it hasn't moved forward at all. And I love to like hate consume things like I was talking about with that bad music videos shit.
Yeah.
And so I will go I'll just go read the comments on Trump's tweets, dude. And
oh my God.
Like everybody's like, oh, the conservative comments are so dumb. Dude, no. The worst comments hands down on Trump tweets are by someone with a blue check mark just like trying to respond to the president.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. You are making yourself look so dumb. And like, oh my God, that shit, the like really hardcore liberal like commenters are the ones that I think are doing the most damage. But dude, this podcast is going to be so incendiary, and I am so sorry. Like, what is it? Your third episode?
Why are you sorry? No, this is what I live for, man. I like the whole idea behind this podcast for me was getting into issues that are underneath the issues, like getting. Like,
I love that shit.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like what's really good. Like when you ask somebody like what's good, it's like I don't want to know how your day is going. Like I want to know what's actually going on in your life, you know, and like this stuff is it's so radioactive right now, and I think you're right and honestly, I mean, it's all reactionary, and you could make the argument that Trump's election itself was reactionary, or you can make the argument that Trump got elected and then there was a reactionary force. Like I don't think it's really either or, but I think what Trump represents in his presidency is this just hyper polarizing extremist situation that we're living in, where it does feel very dystopian. And anytime he does tweet something crazy out, you see these responses from people, you really do start. If I'm the biggest armchair psychologist ever. Like I know nothing about it, but like I have my own intuitions, and my own intuitions, they tell me that when I see a lot of the people on the left reacting to these tweets, almost like they're sitting on their phone waiting for Trump to tweet. Like they jump on it in seconds. Like they are ready to go with their comment.
It's fucking everybody just building a brand.
Yeah,
that's the bullshit. Is that they just want a brand. They're not furthering anything.
Because thousands of people have made careers just out of criticizing Trump, which is insane.
Oh my God, yes. Like, fucking get a life, dude. Like, fuck it. No, get a life. I stand by that. Dude, the funniest thing about this is that one of my followers, just one, I know it's just going to be one, is going to have come onto this podcast expecting me to talk about how I drank raw eggs for a live stream or how I tweet about wanting to have sex with the moon. and is going to listen to me just like armchair theorize about every topic I possibly could and go, this dude is a fucking wingnut, dude. That's so funny to me. That in itself is such a good bit of just like, yeah, I wonder what silly shit Kellen did, and then fucking getting on. Holy shit!
Well, I think like that, dude. That's a great point to bring up because I mean, okay, from the outside looking in, looking at your Twitter feed, like we're Twitter friends, and you're friends with all these different people online. I don't know how many of them you know in real life. I mean, there's Eric.
Like maybe 5.
Okay, so yeah, you mentioned like at not Viking, which is Viking. Like I know you guys have hung out. And there's Eric.
And we're hanging out again.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
I'm actually going down to visit Viking next weekend.
No way.
Yeah. Dude. Isn't that dumb?
Yeah. No, I love it. But I was going to say, like, between him and, like, Eric Turtle and Michaela and a lot of these people on Twitter that are super funny, you guys all interact back and forth, there's really not a lot of just political talk in general. So I think it's interesting to hear you get into some of this stuff. Like, as a comedian and as someone who posts funny tweets, is this something, just generally speaking, you want to stay more clear of? Or do you, like what's your sort of take? Like I know you've been saying like it's just so tired like from other comedians doing it and like it feels all worn out. Like do you feel you want to offer something completely different to get people out of the sort of political poison well that we're all in, or like what's your take on all that?
Yeah, that's kind of where it's at now, man. Is like when I tweet about shit that's happening, I feel myself getting angry, and when I'm angry, I'm not funny.
Right.
And so I feel like that probably is the same on the other side of the coin from the consumer perspective. And I want to offer people a solace in laughter. And I'm like getting choked up. Like I just want to offer them a place out, man. And like, I know it gets hard and no, but like I love comedy because comedy, when I was like, I didn't know what was going on in my own brain, comedy gave me a place to just exist healthfully. And so I want to, to whatever capacity I can, do that for others. And I think the best way to do that is just to tell jokes. And I don't do that because I'm talking about this stuff with you because I care about this stuff. And if I'm wrong, also anybody listening, please DM me and tell me. I want to know. I want to learn. I want to know that I was being a righteous asshole. But I think that my Twitter account, I don't keep that stuff separate on purpose. It's just not where my head is ever at.
Right.
Like there are some incredible accounts like Pixelated Boat and like Krang, who really nail the political and the topical market.
Yeah.
And man, that's not where my strengths are. Like, I think that it's more a strengths thing and just, I want to make people laugh to the best of my abilities. And I think that lies, unfortunately, in singing about wanting to have sex with the green M&M. Or I'm just referencing my own tweets so that people will go fucking hit them. But like, this is all just me. Like,
smash
all of
that
this
retweet button.
Yo, guys, if you guys like this weird political diatribe that I had, definitely go like my jokes about having sex with the green M&M and the moon and wanting to fight God. Yeah, thank you guys so much. No, it's just like, I don't know, man. Like I love talking about this stuff because I think it's important, and I like made a commitment with myself that I would talk about this stuff as much as the opportunity presented itself, and I wouldn't back down because the silent majority to me in any capacity is scary, and I didn't want to be a part of it. But at the same time, like I want to use my voice to make the world a better place, and sometimes that means externally from whatever shit fire hellhole we're in this country at any given time.
Right. Yeah, I love that, man. I think about it a lot in terms of my presence on Twitter as the Steakum account, because most of the people that are the people that are the most active with that account are hyper political, and it's really interesting just how like I go through my feed on a daily basis. I see all the stuff that they commentate on, and obviously, from a personal perspective, I want to commentate on that stuff. It's not that I think, oh, like I just want to avoid all this, but obviously I'm behind a corporate account, and it's like, okay, like behind a corporate account, like how can I sort of fit in to what is going on here? And I think I'm similar to you in the sense where I want to bring some quote-unquote joy. I want to try to make people laugh, and I want to try to offer some kind of oasis away from all this political polarization, because it is literally every day, around the clock, 24/7.
It's incessant, dude.
It's all the top hashtags. Like,
oh my God. If Giuliani crams his head any further up his own ass, I'm going to lose my mind because I can't. Or the fucking Scott, dude, this is funny as shit. Scott Pruitt is the head of the EPA.
Mm-hmm.
and they just reported that he makes his team drive him to several Ritz-Carltons, or he made his team drive him to several Ritz-Carltons just to see if they had a specific lotion for him to buy.
Oh my God.
And like, that shit is so funny, dude. Like, that is so fucking funny. And like, I can't even acknowledge how funny it is, because it just like, no, it's gone. Like that story is dead, and you can't talk about it because there's a new one that's come out since. Like,
yep.
Like it's such a bummer, because that's like fodder, dude. Like if years ago the head of the EPA was driving around trying to get lotions from the Ritz-Carlton, people would have had a field day for years. Like fucking
like Al Gore,
right?
It's like all the Al Gore stuff with his like a bunch of houses and his jets, and that lasted for years in the media.
We destroyed Al Gore. Al Gore was we made him into a puttering buffoon, and just purely because he was on the like side of global warming back when that was a dumb thing, and then now it's very real and we're all going to die. I'm constantly thinking about that. Like, I can't ever not. Like, as soon as a drop of alcohol hits my lips, I'm like, oh my God, we're on a planet that is near a sun. A planet that's near a sun that's going to explode at any minute.
And you're in California, dude, so you're going to break off the ocean.
I live on the fault.
Yep.
And we have a scheduled 8.8 that's like 5 years overdue. So I'm fucked.
Yep. See, it was nice knowing you, dude.
I hope everybody that tuned into this was in a good mood, because I really was trying to pull people out of it.
That's the goal.
Well, he like started talking out just about his Twitter account, and then he started rambling about Giuliani and lotion, and then now he's yelling about how the world's going to end. But yeah, seems like things are going well over there. Glad we got to listen to that whole hour-long talk he had.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Have you seen that? Have you watched the new Mr. Rogers movie?
Wait, there's a new Mr. Rogers movie? I'm so out of the loop.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, there's like a movie that just came out that's like about him. I'm not going to see it because I don't want to cry, but
he's like one of the few people, man. I hope nothing ever comes out about him, because he's made it this far as just an angel.
It's looking like he's going to be all right. Like, it's looking like he was actually a good dude, which is fucking insane.
That's amazing. Well, dude, that was an epic rant, and I loved all that. So, like, let's wind it down a little bit.
Hell yeah.
Switch topic gears just a tad. What is the goal with just what you're doing at large? Like, obviously you're deep into the comedy, you're deep in Twitter. Do you, with what you're doing as your career right now, like, is that sort of the catalyst to get into the next thing, or like what are your sort of short-term, long-term goals being out in LA?
Dude, yeah, of course. That's a loaded question for sure. But ultimately, dude, I really want to go into banking and finance, and I think this was kind of just the best way to do it.
Right.
Yeah, man, my dream is to be in finance, but my dad wants me to be a comedian, so, here we are.
The struggle of every just young white dude.
Yeah, I guess it's just so annoying. It's like my dad's really pushing me to go into comedy, and I don't even really want to do it, but my dream is to have been a CPA.
Yeah. Then eventually sell life insurance like 20 years from now.
Yeah, dude, like, I really want a 401k and health insurance, but my dad just doesn't want that for me. No, man, I think at my core, like, this is such a hippie bullshit thing to say, but like, the reason I do any of this is because I love it. And like, I'm out here because this is where I'm closest to it, and it being just the ethereal, like, comedy thing. Like, I want to make people laugh to the best of my ability, and I want to like make wild shit, and I want to push boundaries, and I want to make relationships with people who do the same thing. And ultimately, if I'm doing that, then I am content. And like right now, I work in an amazing job. I'm not gonna. I keep my job and my my Twitter account separate, because everybody at work knows about my Twitter account. Not everybody. That's such a fucking generalization. Again, dude, I gotta quit. But like, my boss knows about it, and his boss knows about it, and like they don't have any issue with it, because they're like comedians as well. But like, for me, I keep that separate because I want to just. Like, I want to exist in two different capacities, I guess. I want it to be a persona and a real life thing. And I think that gets harder when they blur the lines. And so, like, my job, I work in TV development. I like help get shows ready to sell the network, which is super cool. I work on Sunset Boulevard, which is insane. If you told me a year ago I'd be working on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, I wouldn't have believed you. Like, it's a trip that I'm out here. Like, ultimately, I think that like I want to do that it's a short-term thing for sure. Like, I don't know that I want to be in development my whole life, but the fact that I'm in it now is awesome, and it pays the bills, and I feel pretty fulfilled in doing so as far as corporate jobs go, like we were talking about earlier in my faux anarchy rant. And I love it. Like my boss is like this really funny dude who like he's a writer and he just a funny dude. And so that helps a lot. But I think ultimately, man, I want to be touring stand-up. I'd love to be on the road, love to travel, tell jokes in new theaters. I mean, it scares the absolute fuck out of me, to be completely honest. Like the idea that I'm in the same city as all the greats, like trying to tell jokes in the same city that they're making money telling jokes is it's like I'm such an asshole for trying to come up and stand up in LA. Like that is the worst place to, like I should have gone to a small city and I'm kicking myself every day that I'm going to have to make it here, but whatever. I think that, yeah, that's it. And like, I mean, down the road, I'd love to be, dude, no, fuck it. The ultimate dream. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, hit me.
I want to be on a teenage drama.
Yes.
I want to be on like a CW or Freeform show. No, fuck it. I want to be on Riverdale. That's like the... That's the dream, dude.
Comes full circle.
I'm not above doing like a gym, like shower scene, you know, like that's so shitty. Like I'm such an asshole, but like that's it, man. That's the pinnacle right there. And if I don't get that before I die, I will not have been fulfilled. Dude. Mark my words. Tattoo that shit on my face. Put it on my tombstone. Your boy is going to the CW.
It's been immortalized in this podcast now.
Oh God, dude, this podcast has been a goddamn trip. Like I'm so excited to listen back, like like 2 weeks and be like, what the fuck was I saying?
Well, dude, your self-awareness is very refreshing in all this. Because I mean, I think I relate to you pretty heavily in the way that you come across in just very confident in your ideas, but simultaneously you're aware, okay, this confidence can come off super douchey, so I need to be self-deprecating. I'm the same exact way. I mean, I think go ahead.
In the same sentence, I put myself so high on a pedestal and then immediately fall off of it. Yeah. Like that's how it is. Is like I'm confident enough to get on the pedestal, and then I look around and I go, okay, and I definitely could have been on that pedestal, and it was good that I was there, but maybe I should rethink why I was on the pedestal at all and why I even wanted to be there. And that's every time I speak.
It's the narcissist dilemma. Like we have so much to say, but we're all simultaneously super insecure about how everybody is perceiving us because we want attention and we want to be loved, but at the same time we're the best. Just like
I'm the best thing that's ever happened. I'm better than everyone, and also I'm terrified of everything.
It's serious, but dude, I'm not even kidding. Like you're so. I think this is my maybe again this is my bias because I feel similarly about myself to a degree, but to me, your self-awareness to that is what separates you from so many of the worst people in the world. Like there's so many people I know, and I don't even have to list celebrities. I can just list my own friends where there's people that I know just their entire persona is that like narcissism wrapped up in their ego, but they don't get it. And they don't get how they come across because for whatever reason, maybe life just handed them a good deck of cards and people like reaffirm their absurdity. And I'm just like, it gets to the point where I look at what they say online or I see them in person doing certain stuff. And I'm like, how did you make it this far in life? Just being a complete unaware asshole. And everybody is like, just cool with it.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing. But then at some level, I know people hate it. And it's...
Dude, it's like the confidence gets me on stage and the incredible, just like deep pit of self-doubt keeps me going back is like what it is. Is like the confidence is like, yeah, I'm a comedian. And then the self-doubt is like, I
don't belong here.
What am I like? I'll get to the open mic and be like, oh no,
dude,
dude, I told this joke. I'll tell you this joke. And this is a shitty thing to do, but I think it's very funny. I told this joke on stage and it did not land. I felt so stupid, but I said, I think of myself as a pretty cultured guy, or at least I think I am because I haven't showered in weeks and the bacteria has to be thick. And then the audience didn't laugh, and I went, I think that joke would have killed in the 60s.
Or killed it on Twitter.
It would have killed on Twitter, but I said, I think that joke would have killed in the 60s, the 1760s, because their immune systems were lower. And then a guy just went, ugh. And I was like, damn, dude, I was so confident about that joke going into this. And then I got on stage and I told it, and one fucking drunk dude who hates his girlfriend said, ugh. And I was immediately like, maybe I'm not a comedian. Like, that's all it takes. Yeah. Like, is that how fickle my goddamn ego is? Is like one drunk dude who like has erectile dysfunction is like sitting there and just like, yeah, dude.
There was like 3 layers of setup to it too. So it's like you got like the first layer, and it's like, okay, no reaction. Second layer, no reaction.
Cool, no reaction. Yeah. All right, Bill, get this one. Nope. I know it's layered and everything, so I was really hoping somewhere along that goddamn journey someone was gonna laugh, and they didn't.
Oh my god, man, that's the worst.
I wish we should have a podcast. This would be very successful, where I just tell my failed jokes.
Dude, I literally just talked to a friend of mine whose friend does a podcast where they've been songwriting since they were a kid, and the entire podcast is listening to songs they wrote when they were a kid with a friend of theirs, and they just tear it apart. I'm like, that sounds terrible.
I think I'll save some of my old sets so that down the road when my career inevitably takes a hit, I can have a podcast where that's all I do.
That's beautiful, man.
That's so funny.
Have you considered, like, I don't know much about your personal, like, comedy career. Like, have you considered, do you have, like, a YouTube channel? Like, what outlets do you have a place where you put your bits up, or do you not put anything online?
I had a website for a while. I let it expire, and I had a Tumblr. Like, people just don't read. Like, I wrote a fuck ton of short stories, and people just don't want to read them, which I get. It's like in the age of media, they don't want to consume that, and I get that. But I am about to shoot a short film that I wrote, and then I've got some sketches I think that I'll shoot. So I think there's a YouTube channel coming, but it won't be traditional in the sense of like putting out content frequently. It'll just be a place to house my shit.
Right. Cool, man.
So yeah, dude, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. I've got merch coming out. This has been sponsored by Charmin. Wipe your ass with the best. That's Charmin.
I know the person that runs the Charmin account too.
Oh, dude, we gotta get them in on this. Get me some free TP, dude.
I'll hit them up and let them know.
Holy shit, dude! If we. No shit, if at the end of this podcast, after everything we just talked about, this thing was sponsored by Charmin, that would be funny as fuck. Like, hey, and also, genuinely, Charmin does make good products, so I wouldn't feel bad about them sponsoring it.
No, I love Charmin, yeah.
Yeah, and now, dude, fucking now everyone's going to think that we did this on purpose. Oh, my God.
It's perfect.
We just accidentally constructed a meta bit that I didn't even mean for. Fuck me, dude.
It's perfect. That was my plan. As soon as you got on this call, that was my plan. Just, this whole thing was a big setup to ruin your career.
Oh, my God. I cannot believe how that just happened. That was a chess game that we didn't even know we were playing. Yep. God damn it, that's awesome.
Dude, that's the way this shit works, man.
Oh, I love it. The fucking zeitgeist, we're all just like, we're in group thing. Let's do it. Oh, no.
Man, well, this has been, I'm really stoked we got to have this conversation after months of bantering on Twitter. This is
Dude, yeah, I'm so glad. You're a great dude. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'm excited to see where our dumb friendship goes.
Yeah, probably nowhere. Twitter's probably just gonna like crash next week, and then neither one of us will have a platform.
Dude, here's the thing, man. If Twitter goes down, I'm fucked.
Yeah,
I'll say it right now. People will not ascribe to me on any other social media. Twitter is it, and I don't want to build a following anywhere else. So let's hope I didn't just put all my eggs in one basket. I did.
Dude, that is. I think about that all the time with people, like with funny Twitter accounts and even brands. It's like, okay, if a website like Twitter goes down, where all the credibility's gone. Like, how do you literally have to start at square one to rebuild credibility, and you have all these people who could easily just be pretending to be certain people that they weren't, and it's just it's terrifying to think how fast social media can change.
I love that though. I think the like finitude of that is so great, and I hope that Twitter takes all of my content from me, and all my tweets only live. I hope that they only live in the Library of Congress for real.
Dude, you should be.
You know that, right? They send all of our tweets to the Library of Congress.
Nuh-uh, really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So, okay.
They archive.
So they are
I don't know if they're still doing it, but they're archiving it. Yeah. So, dude, imagine that shit. Some batshit crazy dude who like loses his whole Twitter account is going to go there.
And just get all the files.
Just, like, find all his fucking 14,000 tweets or whatever.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Dude, I was going to say, I mean, you should be screenshotting all your best tweets just to put them in like a resume to prove to people, these are my analytics. Like, this is what I did, just so in case it does go down, you have a backup plan to be like, look, I was somebody.
There's no, that's like you're wearing your Letterman jacket at fucking 50 is what that is. That's it. I'm not doing that shit.
That's exactly what it is.
If my tweets die, they're dead. Like, dude, it's not like Twitter's getting me into clubs anyway. Like,
right.
That's it. Dude, people will introduce me to other people at parties and be like, this dude's Twitter famous. And it's like, I roll my eyes because like that's not shit. Of all the platforms that you could be famous on, I'm on the one you can't monetize. I am not shit, dude. Like, don't introduce me like that.
Yeah, dude, I have people that have followed me from the Steakum account to my personal account, and like that doesn't happen really much anymore. But in the beginning, a bunch of people were like, "Oh my God, like you're the Steakum guy. Like this is so crazy. Like you're famous." And I'm just like, "No." Steakum literally has 10,000 followers, and no one knows me outside the internet, so it's fine.
It's perfect. It's the dream situation because I can pretend to be famous, and then I don't have to worry about it in real life. Dude, fucking Viking, when I hung out with him the first time, the dude got recognized like 8 times in one night, and I was with him.
What?
And I didn't get recognized once, and I went, oh my God. And even on Twitter, I'm not a celebrity.
How did he get recognized? His thing's an avatar.
Dude, I don't know, because he puts those goddamn gun and sword pictures up, and they
sword picture.
I don't know why he has a sword. I genuinely don't, and I think it's so funny, dude.
Did you see the one he posted when I sent you guys all those Steakum shirts? And he posted the one with him in the shirt, and he like cut his arm on accident, and he had the sword.
Yeah, what a dumbass. God, dude. Of course, it's sharpened. He's
I was crying.
We talked about Viking a lot on here. I want to say that dude is one of the funniest fuckers on Twitter for sure.
He is,
like
man.
that, and I can vouch that he's a great dude, and that just makes it that much more fun.
Eddie, well, you've said it 1,000 times, but I mean, just to wrap this thing up, like, where can people find you on Twitter?
Oh fuck yeah, because that's what they want.
Just promote
now.
Yourself again.
Hey guys, come follow me on the only social media where I matter at all. And the only thing that my legacy, dude, when I die is gonna be that fucking sperm tweet.
It's an amazing tweet for anyone who it's your pinned tweet, right?
Yeah.
So for anyone that goes to your Twitter account, they'll see it.
Go
right
to my
away.
Guys. Come over to Captain Calvis for jokes about sperm and drinking it and having sex with Muppets and. Jokes about having sex with the green M&M and wanting to destroy the moon. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what other dumb shit I tweet about. I think that's my whole brand, and that's Dude,
I was crying at the one this past week where it was something like it was like me, it's like watching the sunset after getting sunburned all day, and you just said coward, like all went
dude.
down.
Oh, that one's so funny to me because I get sunburned all the time, and I feel like such a pussy every time I do because I like lay in bed for 2 days.
I relate to it so hard.
Can't move. Nathan, dude, this has been a blast. Thanks for having me on. You guys follow the shit out of Nathan's personal account because I know that'll drive him up the wall.
Oh my God, stop. Please, no.
Follow him for just his musings about music and updates on his podcast studio and what it's like living in Philly, you guys. He's a real good slice of life kind of account to follow, a really good lifestyle brand. So definitely check
I love
that
that
out.
you just turned this ending around. Like that was what I was supposed to say.
Thank you guys for coming on to my podcast. This has been so much fun. Get fucked, Nathan.
Dude, Kellen, it was a blast, man. I really appreciate the time. This is awesome.
Yeah, dude. Cheers. And I'll do anything for you. I'll kill your firstborn if you need me to.
That's perfect, because I was going to ask, but I was too afraid, so it's...
Hell yeah, man. Also, you're engaged. Congrats, right?
Yeah, thanks, man. Less than 3 months. It's going to get weird.
Dude, I can't believe that I'm singing at that wedding. That's insane.
I know. Like, it's like I can't wait for you to come through on that Twitter live stream and just blow all of my grandparents and parents away.
They're going to be so confused as to why a naked, very pale man is singing at your wedding.
About the moon.
Yeah, dude. Oh, dude, I can sing Moon River. I'll do it.
Oh my God, please. It's so beautiful.
All right, man. Thanks for this, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, man. Peace.
Bye.